I've got a brand new, I believe it's going to be a hit. I'm just going to say this. I got a brand new what I believe is going to be a hit single. It's called Rendezvous, and we're going to play it about 12:30. It features my band, The Revival. Man, these guys are great. So we're going to play that tune around 12:30. Becker's going to be in here after this song, and we're going to relive some old memories from days gone by right here at Radio 96.3. So stick around, call your friends, tell them Wilson's back on the air till 1 o'clock. Let's continue on. Scorpions here on the Lunch Rock Cafe. I'm your host, Brother Rick. The Scorpions right here on the Lunch Rock Cafe. It is now 12:13, and as promised, my hero, Mr. Robert Becker. Robert, how you doing, my friend?
Wilson, what are you doing here today?
Hey, man.
Oh, we fired you years ago.
De Blasi said I could come in and do this show today. He said you'd be fine with it.
The final farewell. Rick is taking his act to Florida. What about it? Can't blame you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the temperature is today, but it has to be warmer than it is here.
Taking Mother Teresa and the whole crew of kids down there to Florida. Can't blame you at all.
Check this out, man. Here's where I'm moving to. I'm moving to a little town that is called Mexico Beach. Now picture this. Picturesque little town, 1,000 people. Imagine a winding little highway called Highway 98 that runs along the ocean. And you pull off to the left after you run through this little town about 5 miles long, 1,000 people with no stoplights, no corporate anything in this town. You turn left, the ocean is on the right, and there's our house with a swimming pool, tennis courts, playground for the kids, and private access to the beach.
I know it sounds like paradise. One thing to remind you of. Wear your sunscreen.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Wear the sunscreen. You're going to be down there in Florida.
I never wear sunscreen in Florida.
Got to wear your sunscreen.
I never wear sunscreen. That's against my religion to wear sunscreen.
All right, and you're inviting everyone to come down and stay with you guys for as long as they want.
Well, it depends on who you are. We'll have to clear that, but some of you would be welcome to stay at my house. Now, if you do come to Panama City, though, I'll be doing shows, so just go on Facebook and find me. But what I wanted to do for a minute, Becker, before we talk more about that, I was thinking last night about some of the stuff we used to do here at the station.
You know, it was 1991 that Tracy and I moved here to start the station.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we're starting a station in the small town. Nobody knows us. People were excited about having a classic rock station.
Right.
I don't know who called first, you or Kevin Bell, but you were the first two calls we got, the two of you.
Well, I remember when I came in, he was already working. I'm not sure who called first, but I remember seeing this little bitty square article in the paper, and it just said some little blurb, new radio station coming to Seymour. And I think it had the phone number, I'm not sure. But anyway, you know how resourceful I am. I found the phone number. And I remember I called, and this guy with a voice unlike any voice I'd ever heard in my whole life picked up the phone, and it was you.
You know, it all began there, and it was, Wilson, you're a big part of making the station what it is.
Wow.
Tying into the community, doing fun, crazy stuff, the music, all of it. You were a huge part of it.
Well, it was so much fun.
And we've survived in spite of all that.
Yes. And I survived in spite of all of it. And in those days, I lived a lot crazier life than I do now. But I think it all kind of started with what we were going to call Billboard. Well, we did call it Billboard the first few years. And you remember what we were going to do the very first year?
We're going to have someone live on the billboard right there by the bus in the old B&O parking lot, which is going to be a new park.
Well, it wasn't just someone. You were going to have me live on the billboard.
Oh, it was? Okay. Then we talked to our insurance guy and our attorney. They said probably not a good idea.
They were afraid I would get drunk and fall off the billboard. And I probably would have, Becker.
And, bus stock was 7 days, 24 hours a day. Yeah, in the world, we can't do it that way anymore.
No, we're out there in that hot parking lot, up the B&O parking lot. And hopefully, Slick Ratchet's going to be calling in here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. Those were some of the really, those are the days that I consider the highlights of some of our bus stocks was our stunts.
And, it's crazy. And people actually believed us at that point. Now we're going to do something. No. It's like, no way. But they believed he was going to jump that bus.
They really did believe he was going to jump it. And I have a good friend who was really ticked off when he kind of figured out it was a joke. And not just him, but a lot of people had fun with it. Here's the thing that always killed me about that jump. All right, the ramp going up to the cool bus, that looked like a totally legitimate ramp. But the ramp that you built on the other side of that bus was in no way a ramp that would have ever prevented anybody from killing themselves if they ever hit that.
Wilson, until I showed up late in the afternoon, there was no landing ramp at all. You're all about the hype and the fun and this. It's like, wait a minute, we got to at least pretend he's got something to land on. It was a piece of plywood.
That's a good point.
We had no landing ramp at all until I got in.
Yeah.
I keep sanity around here.
That's true.
Just came up the landing ramp.
And then my other memory of bus stock was the death chamber in the sky. Remember that?
And we dropped this box. We still have the rope hanging here that Slick was in, and somehow he survived it and came out of the bus in a cloud of smoke.
We got a crane from Lawyer Crane and Lawyer Crane Excavation, and we lifted Slick up in that box like 40 feet off the ground and set that rope on fire before we lifted it. It was classic, man.
Did you forget about when he jumped out of the crane into that swimming pool? You forgot about that one.
I did forget about that one. I burned a few brain cells over my lifetime.
We also had great music. No one put on live shows outside in Seymour like we used to do. I know your band used to play Nepathy. Yep. We had great music we used to bring to town.
Well, and then in the wintertime, when there's really nothing to do, back in the day, we had those barn burners out there at the Pines, remember?
I remember
the very first Larry Crane show we did. We broke every law there was. Fire code. I mean, that building was stuffed.
I hope Mike Hall isn't listening.
Well, he was part of the problem. What are you talking about? He was all about it.
It was unbelievable.
It was. But anyway.
And let's not forget Party at Hardy. There were 3 of them. The final one we can't talk about on the radio, but still legend in southern Indiana.
Yes. And thanks to you, I can't go to any state parks in the state of Indiana because of Party at Hardy.
We have pictures of you, Rick Wilson, that we would not show the public. And I remember one point, you and Tony Starkey, we had all these young ladies up there. It was getting out of control. It's like, let's pick a winner. Next thing, Rick Wilson and Tony Starkey decide, let's get him back up there. It's a tie.
It was, that was a crazy day. And my wife still slaps me every time we talk about that. So we don't talk about it a lot at home.
How about all the great community stuff we've actually done outside of the crazy stuff, really tying in the community, doing lots of stuff in town?
I got to hand it to you, Becker. It was smart planning and the way we would actually tie into the community. That's what makes this station the station that it is. So I've always been proud to have been associated with it. I think I've done stints here 2 or 3 times over the last, my wife was asking me today, like 26 years, off and on, 26 years.
The Lunch Rock and everything, big part of it. Thank you, Rick Wilson.
Hey, my pleasure. Robert Becker, shake my hand,
and
brother.
Next January, I'll be down there for a month, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Book my room in Mexico Beach for a month in January.
You'll be a snowbird.
I'll be there.
All right, brother. Thanks, good. Thank you. Robert Becker there, everybody. One of my best friends in the whole world. The guy gets around. Comes in from California to a little town called Seymour, Indiana, and says, I'm going to build a radio station. Whereas I said, I'm all about that. Count me in. Woo! All right. It's 12:22 here on the Lunch Rock Cafe, heading to Mexico Beach on Valentine's Day with my Valentine. She's been my Valentine now for 28 years. Mother Teresa. Woo! I tell you what, I don't know how she's managed to pull it off, but she has. And for those of you who don't know, over the last 5 years, we've adopted 5 children. 2 of them are here in the building today. My 3-year-old Bryson and my 2-year-old Jane here in the studios. And wow, I can tell you story after story, but what a joy. So we're going to be pulling them out of school. Sean, who's 12, Katie, who's 9, Gracie, who's 6. And we're going to be pulling them out of school next week or following week on the 13th, packing up and heading. Bryson, I don't know, Brycie, will you say something to people on the radio for me?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell everybody how old you are?
No.
Why not? All right, I'll see you. That's all you're going to get out of Bryson. Bye, honey. All right. Well, continuing on, I'm going to play some of my favorite stuff I used to play here on the show. This is Southern Culture on the Skids here on the Lunch Rock Cafe with your big brother, Rick Wilson. Oh, yeah. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah. That's right. Radio 96.3, and I am your host, Brother Rick Wilson. Glad to be here today, and I've got a huge treat here in the studio today, folks. I mean, this is really huge. Now, Southern Culture on the Skids, getting a little carried away here. All right. I think my tape's messing up, Dr. Dave. Imagine that. Imagine that, live radio and something screwing up. Anyway, how are you, my brother?
I'm good, pal. I'm
good. It's great to see you. Yeah,
great to be here.
This is a bad CD. Well, I want to relive some of the stuff, and
are you sure?
Well, I think I do. I want to relive some of the stuff I remember anyway. And the days when we haven't really hung for a long time.
No,
right?
no.
I think everybody freaked out when I got clean and sober, and they didn't really know what to do.
We all knew what to do. We did it, really. We need to give you your space to find your place.
And then I think everybody realized after a while, wait a minute, he's still kind of just the way he was.
We all breathe the same air, brother.
He just don't get high and drink and do all the crazy stuff anymore.
Well, not that we all did that.
No.
It's not guilt by association.
Just me. I'm talking about just me, doctor.
Right.
And what's amazing, this is the only station that I ever knew of that had to have an on-staff doctor on call. And do you remember your first experience with this station and how our friendship came together and how that all happened? Do you recall any of that?
It's been a lifetime ago. Maybe
like
a couple lifetimes ago.
But I mean, how did we hook up? Remember?
I started some radio advertising for a pawn shop.
That's right.
Pawn
your
Pro.
pawnbroker?
Well, actually, originally was Pawn Pro.
That's right.
That we had in Jackson Park, right?
Right.
And we started that relationship, and then I've had employees, Sean Malone, of course. We all know Sean, who worked for me.
Absolutely. I forgot about that.
And then you guys, everybody being buddies, and then you've got a brother-in-law who's one of my dearest friends in the world, Mr.
Still?
Absolutely still. One alias of Ricky Clark, who's out beating the water company up today. But so I think that was the beginning of it. And then, of course, our buddy, our very dear friend, Bob Lenowski.
Who rest his soul.
And I had been friends, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it started at we'll call it a luncheon meeting at that time, Jonesy's, now Bubba's,
right,
where we had that initial discussion of, hey, let's get 6 beers and see what happens.
I remember sitting here on a day like any other day. I'm just sitting here spinning tunes. I had just started the show, and I turned around one day, and in walks Bob Lenowski with a 12-pack.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Does this mean I get to drink on the air? Because he was an advertiser.
Yes, right.
And I felt that was my role as a, personality here.
Absolutely, I agree 100%.
To do my part to build a relationship with an advertiser.
You're right.
So we began that day, Bob and I, and then he kept coming back.
Right.
And then Malone scurried in here one day. You came in, and before I knew it, we had this whole between Slick and 2-Foot Fred, who wasn't 2-Foot Fred in those days.
No, he was not. No.
Do you remember his name?
Was that the Red Rocket?
The Red Hornet.
Red Hornet.
Red Hornet.
Yeah,
right.
I knew it was something.
The Red Hornet.
Rumor has it there may be a video.
I
don't know. I don't know. There's
go to YouTube, and you can find it. But we had to have a doctor because you just never knew what was really going to happen around this
medical
place.
Or otherwise emergency could have happened at any given time.
That's exactly right. So we were always thinking ahead, and I thought, I'm glad you are a doctor. Now, what kind of doctor are you exactly? I mean, what is your field?
It's mostly from the way I operate. So
right. Okay.
That's
all right. Well, I'm glad you're here because this is a special one. I've got a brand new single, and I don't know if you've heard anything about it.
I have heard.
Yeah, and it's kind of catching a buzz around.
Yeah.
And it was one of those weird deals. It's happened so quickly. Of course, you've seen my band, The Revival.
Absolutely.
What a great band.
Fantastic bunch of guys.
So, a couple weeks ago, I'm down in my little studio at the house. And
there's some studio stories we can talk about.
Oh,
no,
yes,
wait, maybe
absolutely.
There is.
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, as a lot of songs come to me, this song just came to me. 5 minutes tops. I've written this song.
Winners.
Wow.
Right.
And I think, I've got this really cool song. And so I called the guys. I was so excited, I said, I'm not even going to let you learn the song. Just if you get a chance to see my raw version of it on Facebook, just be at the studio Tuesday night. We're going to record it. So they showed up. We recorded it. And it was awesome. So I called my son, and I said, hey, I need a video. My son lives in Indianapolis. His name is Dylan. And he's a rap producer up there. And a very creative young man. And I said, I need a video. So we filmed a video, and it is now on YouTube. And it is awesome. If I say so myself. Can I say so myself?
Now, I'm going to tell you. I've seen the video.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard the song.
Okay.
And I listened. I backed up and listened again just to make sure.
Catch the story.
And then I picked up the cover and looked to make sure we were talking to you. It's very, very impressive. I think.
Well, thank you.
You know, as many times we all got a little background in that, but so many times big hits are made by not the ones you work on for years or weeks or months. Right. It's the ones that you go, bam.
Yeah.
So,
they're given to you. There's no doubt.
I think it's going to be a good one for you.
We're going to premiere it right here in just a couple minutes. And what I'm going to do is I've got my Florida tour booked. It starts March the 1st. And so, can you imagine that?
Of course it does.
It starts March the 1st at the Lookout Lounge.
I've been there. I know all about the Lookout Lounge.
I believe you. Right. And isn't it great how it just sits right there on the ocean?
Yeah, there's a lot of greatness about the Lookout Lounge.
I've got some shows there, and I'll be at Mango Marley's, and I'll be out on Cape San Blas.
Coldest beer in St. Joe Beach.
There you go. Yeah. Have you ever been out to Cape San Blas?
Oh, yeah.
On the peninsula?
Absolutely. You kidding me? Yeah.
I figured you had a home out there, like one of those $5 million homes.
No.
But anyway, I'm playing out there at the Scallop Republic.
I can't afford it.
So we're putting that tour together, but I've got like 10 dates in March already. So we're going to go down there and we're going to promote this song. And I'll be at the Seymour Brewing Company tonight, and I'll just be there doing a solo show. But anyway, we're going to play the song right now. This is the radio premiere, the world premiere of my brand new tune. It's myself, Rick Wilson, and The Revival. The name of the tune is Rendezvous. So if you want to see the video, which is great, go to YouTube and just type in Rick Wilson and The Revival Rendezvous. People saying, how you spell rendezvous? Do you know how to spell rendezvous, by the way?
Starts with an R.
Starts with
any computer bring up the rest.
That's
you
right.
get the first letter. They put it all together for you.
Everybody's asking me, how you spell rendezvous? RENDEZVOUS. And so, here it is, the world premiere of my brand new, hopefully to be a hit single, Rendezvous, right here on the Lunch Rock Cafe. Outside of town, she looks like Madonna when she's upside down. She ain't real pretty, she's a whole lot of fun. She's my mama and my sister and my girl in one. Woohoo! 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 Shave her legs, cause she don't give a lick. She lives with her old man way out in the sticks. She gives me a call when he turns blue. We get together for a rendezvous.
where the gators run free. There's her and her dog and her sister and me. We don't have to tell each other what to do when we get together for a rendezvous. Rendezvous, 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 rendezvous. Yeah. She'll bring the whiskey, I'll bring the wine. We'll get together for a real good time. Forget our troubles, we forget our blues when we get together for a rendezvous. Rendezvous, 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 rendezvous. All right. She don't like it when I tell her to go. She threatens to tell and follow me home. But she knows better than to spoil the stew if she ever wants to have another rendezvous. Rendezvous, yeah. Woohoo! 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 All right.
There it is, my brand new single with my band, The Revival. And, of course, in the band, John Whitcomb on guitar. What a monster and a great friend. You know, good friends, Doctor, in this world are really hard to find.
Rare.
You know,
rare.
It is so rare. You can have a lot of acquaintances in this world, but friends that you can really count on. John and I met back in 1979. And I'll tell you real quickly how John and I met. I'd come home from college, disgraced, kicked out of preacher school, and I'd gotten myself kicked out of preacher school. Imagine that.
I can't.
And,
it's hard to imagine.
Wrap your mind around that. So I get a job at a brand new factory here in town. And at that time, it was called Ben Franklin. And now it's Pet Supply
Supplies,
something like that, Pets Plus or something. And so I was loading trucks out there. And, you know, it wasn't the best time of my life.
Sure,
you know.
Sure.
And so this kind of a skinny little scrawny, not scrawny, but kind of, I remember he had like curly hair. It was kind of long, and he just looked like he just didn't really care about anything. He was just kind of frolicking around, driving one of those little carts, and I wanted his job because I was working hard. I was loading trucks, and every time I saw him, he'd just be driving this little cart around, you know. Right. So anyway, he pulls over one day, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And then I come to find out, he introduced himself and told me who he was, and asked some folks, you know, who's John Whitcomb. They told me, you know, his dad was the governor in the 70s, and so make a long story short, we struck up a great friendship, and he got me in my first band. in the Nepenthe Band in 1979.
Classic. Right?
Yes.
Classic stuff.
And we cut our teeth at the Walton Hotel for several years.
Right. I cut some things at the Walton Hotel, too.
Well, I think most
we're
of
going to
us
leave that
did.
alone.
Right. And so, that's really where I learned to play and sing and entertain. And the Walton, it was just a classic place. But going back to real friends, John's a real friend of mine. I mean, he's just one of those guys that, you could count on him. He plays guitar, and he's a great harmonizer. Of course, there's no background vocals on that tune, but when we need him, he's great. And also on bass is Scotty Charlton. And, of course, Scotty plays with Jackson Way. He's also played in Randy and the Good Old Boys for years and years.
And forever. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me tell you,
good at his art. Sure.
I just, to me, that song right there, Rendezvous, it's the bass line that makes that song what it is. I mean, I'll tell you right now, it's the bass line that makes that song what it is. And so, and I think he's coming out to the show tonight. Yeah, and he was at the last show. He came in, this was really so funny. I don't know if he was really what was going on. So I seen this guy come in, the Seymour Brewing Company, 2 weeks ago tonight, and he's in this black, trench coat, and he's got this hood on, and he's got these big, dark sunglasses on, and he just kind of moseys in and sits down. And I see this guy sitting back there. I'm thinking, who is that guy? And so I'm taking a break, and Malone says, hey, you need to go out and talk to that guy in the black coat sitting at the table. And I thought, well, okay, how that goes.
Well, we know the Unabomber's in prison, so we had that going for us.
Exactly. So, and I'm just about to get to Greg. He goes by Greg and Scott both, and I realized who he was, and it was so hilarious. And I'm not sure still to this day. I don't know if he didn't want me to know who he was, because if my solo show really sucked, then that way he wouldn't have to.
He could slip out.
Yeah, he could just slip out and be done. But he stayed the whole night. We had a great time together. What a great guy. And then Randy LaGuire is the drummer.
Right.
And, of course, he's from Randy and the Good Old Boys, because he was obviously Randy.
Right. And a good old boy.
And I called Randy a year ago, and I said, Randy, I just feel like doing some band gigs. I said, could you put us together a little band, So he did. And I tell you what, these guys are fabulous. So I called Wayne Deaton and said, I got this tune we got to record, and we went down and recorded it, and the rest is history. And also why we were there that night, we're going to play it today. We re-recorded Hot Rod Daddy. So we got a brand new version of Hot Rod Daddy. So what we're going to do is we're going to put out what's called a CD single. It's going to have 2 tunes on it, and it will be available on iTunes Friday, February 16th. Nice. So it'll be released worldwide. Listen to it on Spotify, buy it wherever you can buy music. And I'd really like to encourage people to do it, because all the money not only goes to the band, but it also goes to the Feed the Children Foundation. And we're talking about my children.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, Feed My Children.
And you got a slew of those.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them.
Right.
And here's what really is tricky about the whole thing. When my kids first started going to school, they came home and said, Daddy, all my friends get 3 meals a day. And I'm like, stupid kids. Can't they just mind their own business?
Sure.
So now I'm feeding them 3 meals a day.
Right.
And so, we really need the money, folks. Right. And so anyway, seriously, no, I'm just kidding. But sort of. Kind of kidding.
Well, it is. It
is what it is.
It's well worth it. You ought to, download it, put it on your on your phone. This day and age, it's a different deal.
February 16th. That's right. Let's do this. We were hoping to get some other phone calls from some other former celebrities from the Lunch Rock Cafe. It looks like that may not happen. I know schedules get kind of crazy. The Rolling Stones here on the Lunch Rock Cafe. The Rolling Stones here on the Lunch Rock Cafe. It's 8 minutes before 1. And, just when I thought that we weren't going to have a phone call from one of our big stars of the Lunch Rock Cafe, sure enough, he calls. And I believe I've got him on the line right now. Slick, are you out there? Slick.
Hey, Rick. Coming at you live.
Man, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I need to wait to work a little bit. Can't tell you and Mother Teresa and the family, best wishes. Thank you for doing everything you did for me.
Well, brother, I tell you what, you're one of those good old boys. And, I just, when they said you were on the line, I said, daggone it, the show wouldn't be the same if I didn't get to talk to Slick for a moment.
Yeah, I couldn't miss it. Hey, you remember old Chef, the Chef Samurai? You remember Stanley?
Oh, yeah. Well, the Samurai, he'd call in with the menu every day. Absolutely.
And then Stanley wanted to go to Pink Palomino.
Right.
Them was the good old days.
This was the good old days. And, I know where I've been told is you're living down the islands now, and you're living off your earnings that you made from the big jump, the big motorcycle jump back there in the 90s. And so, I mean, what's it like down there? Just kind of bathing in the sun every day and just playing your guitar and writing songs and hanging out with, the females of the island. How's that going for you?
Going pretty good. That go-kart jump was in 99. It's going to be 20 years, another year.
99.
And,
wow.
Yeah, 20 years ago, and I jumped that thing that went, and you actually went to jail. That was a whole different story.
I know. And, that was the thing that you didn't really get to make the jump because the authorities came in at the last minute and stopped it. And it was very, very disappointing. I was very disappointed. But, things happen like that, so it's just the way it is. But, man, I'm telling you what, it's so good to hear from you. And, when you decide to come back to the States for a little while, slide on over to Mexico Beach and hang out with us for a little while.
Yeah, I'm going to take the old come-in tour out there this summer, and if I end up down in Florida, I'll give you a holler. You do that, and I've got a Florida tour starting March the 1st. You can just jump on board with that thing, man, and you can just open my shows for me. How's that? That'd be just good, buddy. But I just want to tell you thanks and give you all best.
Well, Slick, I appreciate it, man. I love you, brother, and you just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll talk soon. All right, bro?
Yeah.
All right. Slick Ratchet there on the Lunch Rock Cafe. Good to hear from him, and we're about to wrap this show up. It's hard to believe that an hour has flown by, but, I've got my doctor here next to me, and you heard about my tumble last night. Did you hear it on the radio?
I did. I did hear a little something about it.
I could have used the doctor last
night. That's what
night.
I understand. You could have. It sounded like you could have used anybody. A nice dog would help you.
There's nothing like the feeling of laying on your driveway, 10:30 at night. It's about 4 degrees outside.
Right.
And you're just
it was
laying
chilly
there
last night,
wondering if anything is going to work. And just getting up was the biggest problem I had.
Right.
I mean, it's like it has been for the last 5 years. I've had to change diapers for the last 5 years. Can you imagine?
Well,
you've done your share.
Yeah, I did my share. Mine's been about 10 years ago now.
Right,
but yeah,
right.
I did a roll at that.
So, but I've always had to sit in the chair and put the baby in front of me on the floor. And, my wife, she can just squat right down there and do it.
I've seen her. Right,
and just squat right down there and do it. But I'm like, I can't do that. Because if I get down, I cannot get back up. And so, anyway, I've always changed the diapers that way. And I just, when I hit the deck last night, I thought, oh, great. nothing's broken. Satan's trying to kill me. The angels are looking over me. But now what am I going to do? How am I going to get up off this driveway? So, I really got a couple bruises. That's about it.
Yeah, see, but you did check. You had while you're laying there, your first thought.
That's right.
Is what's broke, where we at, where
That's
we're
right.
going from here.
Well, Doctor, we're going to wrap things up, and here's how we're going to do it. When I was in the studio a couple of weeks ago and recorded Rendezvous, Randy LaGuire, the drummer, said, hey, let's record a new version of Hot Rod Daddy. Of course, I recorded my first version of Hot Rod Daddy with Jason Wilbur back in 1995.
That's a long time ago. Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Right, that's long. Yeah, in fact, if you remember the bungalow back,
sure.
We had the little studio and that for a while. And
absolutely. Well, I remember Jason was playing in a little 4-piece band I had at the time, and every night before the show would be over, I'd say, let's play Hot Rod Daddy. He goes, what's that? And I said, just an E, just follow me. So I'd start the song off, and make a long story short, Jason fell in love with the song. So he said, hey, Rick, now this was before, he was anybody.
Right.
And he said, I want to record that song. I said, okay, let's do it. He said, here's what we got to do, though. I said, what? He said, I've got a key to a studio over at IU, but they can't know that I'm using it, okay? And I said, oh, okay.
And we've never been involved in anything like that before.
Right. I'm thinking, hey, this is totally out of character for me. So I said, okay, what do I do? He said, just meet me. And I met him over there in Bloomington at IU.
Yeah.
And we go in this little dark studio, and he lets me in this studio, and he says, now, just play it real quick. I said, okay. He said, just get out your guitar, play the song, and then get out of here. And I said, okay. So I'm sitting in this dark studio. I remember he's looking around, making sure nobody's coming along. So I record this song, and I leave, and I'm done. And I'm thinking, that's the weirdest thing I've ever done, to record a song. Yeah. So about 2 weeks later, I get this tape in the mail, and it's the finished product. He went back to the studio when he was, however he did it, and finished it up. So that's always been the version that we, are familiar with. But we're going to end the show with the brand new version of Hot Rod Daddy, and it's going to be on the Rendezvous single. And when you buy the Rendezvous single, you'll get this as a little bonus.
That's fantastic. 2-for-1 deal.
That's right.
That's great.
So, Doctor, we're going to end the show with this tune.
From me to you, I wish you all the very best. You know that. We will. That's always been my little hideout down there in Mexico Beach. So
it was so funny when I told you one day in the store we're going to move to Mexico Beach, and you knew everything about it.
Yeah,
because
it's a hideout.
My call turned me on to it.
It is. There's a few of us that are aware of the area.
What's funny is the people that I've gotten to know down there. When I did my first show down there last fall, they said, don't tell anybody about this place.
Don't tell anybody, right?
It's called the Forgotten Coast.
Yeah.
So everything you've heard, folks.
It's old Florida.
Now, sure. I'm going to hypnotize you. And you forget everything that I've told you about Mexico Beach, all right? So, Doctor, I love you. Shake my hand.
Very nice.
And I'm going to say goodbye to you folks. Come on out to the Seymour Brewing Company tonight. I'll be doing a show at 6:30. It'll be a solo show. We can't fit the whole band in there, unfortunately, or we'd have the whole band.
Pizza and beer. I mean, what better to listen to music to?
That's
fantastic.
Right.
And pizza. Yeah,
it's they'll be stirring them with a stick in there. So I'm assuming you probably ought to get there early.
Get early.
If you want a seat, but plan on coming and standing. But that takes place at 6:30, and thank you, everybody, for listening today. It's been a wonderful experience. We'll be heading out here in about 10 days. So here it is from the revival, the brand new version of Hot Rod Daddy. I hope you all enjoy this.
Well, the Pistons are pumping, burning 199, burning up the rubber on this red hot ride. Smoking like a freight train, oh my God, I'm a hot rod daddy with a red hot rod. I got a mean reputation as a hot rod man. I'll steal me a kiss any way that I can. Wheels are chrome and my stereo's quad. I'm a hot rod daddy with a red hot rod. Well, there's a red hot mom, but she's a walking my way. I pull up close and I said, hey, babe. She climbs inside, she says, oh my God, you're a hot rod daddy with a red hot rod. Well, now she got nervous and I got scared. I shifted the low and ran my fingers through her hair. She leaned way back and then she said with a nod, you're a hot rod daddy with a red hot rod. Well, now I tried to shut it down, but it just wouldn't stop. I slammed on the brakes so she climbed on top. She said, I don't understand me, can't you handle this bod? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mouthing like a jet, all my engines shut down. I ran out of gas at the outskirts of town. Felt like a jerk, I said, oh my God, I'm a hot rod daddy with a dead hot rod. Yeah.